everybody can screen. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, whatever time zone you're in. Thank you for being here. This is a monthly series called Humanism in Practice. I'm Dr. Jyoti Bachani. I'm a professor of strategy and innovation at St. Mary's College of California in the San Francisco Bay Area. And within the International Humanistic Management Association, the host of this series, I'm the one who holds up the pole for the big tent for using the arts to humanize management. My personal favored art forms are poetry and improv. And I was inspired to do this work with Nancy Adler leading me through a workshop at the Western Academy of Management. And her preferred art forms were visual arts. So I hope you can see my favorite visual art. It's Gopal Swami Ketanchi's work. He's a miniature painter from the Rajasthani tradition. And this Rajasthani dress that Mona Lisa is wearing is in the Rajasthani tradition called Bani Thani, which means made up, like ready to party, I guess. So that's the Bani Thani Mona Lisa. It's meaningful to me because I grew up in India, but I've spent all my adult life away from India. So this sort of blends the traditions for me. If you would like to introduce yourself with image, some of you have already shared that in the chat window. And those of you who have joined, please share an art image to introduce yourself or say where you're joining from so that others in the room get to know you. Our featured speaker today is Carol Turner. Carol is a lifelong artist. She's well known for her large scale oils that explore color and light. And I'm going to share with you a couple of the images of her paintings. This one's called The Blue Chair, and you can enjoy the colors and the light. This is Chicago scene. She has often been compared to Edward Hopper. And I encountered Carol's work in San Francisco one day. I had gone to listen to Professor Gary Hamel give a talk on his latest book at the Commonwealth Club. And in the lobby was a large public exhibit. The lobby was basically turned into a museum. It drew me in. And I've remembered it for over a decade now. And since then, it's become even more powerful, as memories tend to be when something moves you in that strong a way. So I'm very delighted that Carol is here. That exhibit was called The Silence of Women. And that's the one that we will talk about today. It is a universal problem. This was way before the Me Too movement made it much more recognized as an issue that the world needs to face. Carol says she thinks women belong at the table and we should have a more active role in shaping all the issues that humanity faces. If women have equal voice in politics and policy, maybe there will be fewer wars. And Carol also believes that thoughtful, intelligent women and men must work together as equals. And we must raise girls to speak with confidence and conviction, and boys who respect and value strong girls. In addition, as part of the Silence of Women exhibit, there is also a wall of letters. These are letters written by influential public figures, women who answered questions that Carol asked them about how did they find their voice and what might they say to their younger selves or to the younger generations so that not so much is buried in silence. Um, Having talked about silence, I'm going to ask us to silently read the inspiration for the work before I turn it over to Carol. So, everybody, please read something that Carol has written. And like all great artists, Carol prefers for her work to speak. And I am delighted that she accepted our invitation to speak despite saying, "Oh, I'm not the kind of person who like lectures, let my work speak." So please engage with the inspiration. And thank you, Carol, for agreeing to spend this time with us.
Thank you. This was an exhibit in a library at Santa Clara University. It's a Jesuit school in Santa Clara, California. The library was an exhibit space, and the exhibit was used by the president of the university as a fundraiser. They asked me to speak to their donors, and we had a dinner afterwards, and they did a whole program around the silence of women. And they had a few statistics that I felt were really terrific. So I incorporated some of their statistics that they had found into my letter wall. You can go ahead and forward. Yep. This was at the Triton Museum of Art. I captured a few girls checking out the letter wall. Amongst the letter wall, so the black cards basically are when I send a letter out to women of influence, I just put their name on the plaque. And when their letter comes back, I replace it with their letter. So that became the letter wall. And amongst the letter wall are statistics that, yeah, so you can kind of see a little bit better. Yeah, okay. So as part of my statistics, I have quite a few, but I pulled out just a few for this presentation. 50,000 women are trafficked into the US each year. And there was another one worldwide, more than 50% of the population of women over the age of 15 cannot read or write. I thought that was quite appropriate for the times we're living in. Okay. The part of the exhibit that influenced the whole statistics part of it was I ran across this book by Joni Seeger, and she had amazing amounts of statistics in there about women. I actually asked her to come and speak during my exhibit at the Commonwealth Club in San Francisco. So we had an educational conference around the exhibit as well. But it turns out a lot of her statistics came from the United Nations. And so I wound up pulling a lot of my information from there as well. Okay. This is a close-up on one of the masks that I created. And the next one. You can see I fired the faces very slowly to create the cracking. And then I took a jersey actually and put clay in the middle of a t-shirt and rolled it with a rolling pin to make the fabric look like it was, or the covering looked like fabric. Okay. So I had several tables with masks, and they represented women from all over the world like it was part of an archaeological dig. And the cards that are below the masks have places where these women came from. There's children, there's older women, and being in the Bay Area at the time, Stanford University and, even the school, San Francisco Art Institute, there were students from all over the world going there. So it was easy to convince people to let me, um, do moldings of their face. Okay. At the as part of the exhibit, I created a table where spectators could write their own letter, and I still have the letters. If the world could listen, what would you say? So the letters now are in the box, and I drew quite a few portraits of young women, which is our future. Okay. This is a book I created around the exhibit, and we handed them out free for whoever wanted to pick them up. That's a bookmark. And at Santa Clara University, they had quite a few windows. And I used the windows and created a series of not only blow-ups of my faces, but also quotes from various people. Like that one is a British poet, Matthew Arnold. And I found that quite inspiring. And that was from Kofi Annan. And that was from Hillary Clinton's speech at the UN, 1995, the World Conference on Women. Some more images of the display. And all around the campus at Santa Clara University, they had these like TV screens where they were promoting the exhibit, which was kind of fun. Okay. Here's a spread of the book, and so I blew up part of the letter from Dianne Feinstein and just blew up just part of her letter. And this one was from Anna Eshoo. She was in the House of Representatives. She's retired right now. And throughout the book, I have quotes that I found that women had written, not necessarily to me, but just in general about the status of women. Okay. Okay. Happy to answer any questions you might have. Looks like everybody's silent, is on silent.
It is an intense exhibit and it takes a moment to absorb all that. I want to share that the display tables were literally like coffins almost.
Mhm.
And seeing the masks as archaeological digs and so evocative, um, that just to walk around those in that unexpected place of a downtown skyscraper lobby, um, like really brought the contrast home in ways that has only become more important once the Me Too movement unsilenced many more women, and many of them never had anybody listening to their stories other than just to say, yeah, me too. But each woman's story is unique. And um, thank you for sharing the inspiration from the Afghan war and many more wars since then that have not stopped. So the problem is universal and it's current and it's urgent.
Mhm.
So you silently managed to capture so much. And you know, where do you find the bravery, the courage, the imagination to make it accessible to the world in ways that is literally, in my generation, called it beyond words. The millennials now say, oh my God. So where was that OMG and beyond words power to express and the creativity that led you to this work and to other work that you do? Say a bit about your creative process.
When I was at the San Francisco Art Institute, um, all of the, basically they even though I was a painting major, they wanted all of the students to take advantage of what the school had to offer. So I took ceramics and printmaking and, various drawing. And while I was in the ceramics classes, when we were bombing Afghanistan, and one of the projects that the class had was to do a bust of your own head. So I was working on my head. It was late at night. I lived in Palo Alto, which was an hour from school. So I worked as much as I could in the foundry, and it was kind of at the end of the evening, and I was wrapping my sculpture in wet towels, and that's how you keep it from drying out, the clay. And then you put plastic over the top of it. But as I'm wrapping my own face, it was an epiphany that my voice had been silenced. It's not just the women in the burqas in Afghanistan, it is global. And that's really the moment that inspired. I was kind of in a rage about it. And then I started sculpting people, as many people as I could convince into letting me cast their faces. And it was a project that had nothing to do with what I was supposed to be doing in class. And when it came to deciding what my grad project was going to be, one of my professors said, well, why don't you turn your faces project into your grad project, because your faces are taking up the entire room in our whole hall there. So I did. So I turned it into that, and in lots of conversations The letter wall came out of it, the statistics came out of it. I really started thinking deeply about women in the world and not just in corporate America, but in the home and your whole environment. And that one study that the UN that I found that had to do with what women want and what men wanted in India. Men wanted things that had to do with the infrastructure and roads and that sort of thing, and women wanted the health and well-being of their family. And after that, I noticed that conversations when you were with friends, husband and wife, just, that's what men even now here are concerned about. And women are always talking about healthcare and their kids and schools and the environment and clean water and healthy things. It's just not just in India, it's everywhere. And then it really hit me that more and more that women have got to be in in places where decisions are made around the world. So that was just the focus of it. And I continue to paint and work on women's issues. I've gotten into politics, I'm not running for anything, but I support women that are. So, so there you go.
This is the most creative and beautiful expression of rage. My rage looks very different in its expression.
Yeah, it was rage, all right.
Isle, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
It's Ilse.
Ilse, thank you.
So first of all, thank you for showing us this beautiful and this what happened is that it made me thought a lot. As you were mentioning, it's not happening only in India, it happened a lot in Latin American countries as well, in European and North American countries. I am interested in if you could tell us a little bit about what was the reaction of the audience, because you put all these posters with these phrases that has a lot of impact and make us think, like we as women, we really, at the end, and you just said, we have this vision in terms of health, in terms of family. And at the same time, a lot of women more and more, we are in business, okay? So it's also a way of speaking when we are in business. We have grown, and there's like even a lot of companies that has become their CEOs, they have become women. So it's a way of speaking. But at the same time, we are still in a world society in which women voice is normally silenced, as you are still mentioning. So I am really very, very interested in know what was the reaction of the audience. And also, I would like to know if there was a letter that for you, like keep in your mind, or like it was like maybe very touching or something that really capture what you were trying to, or what were you expressing in this beautiful exposition. Thank you very much, and beautiful, really beautiful project. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I wouldn't say there was one. All of them were such that I was taken aback, but Rianne Eisler, I don't know if any of you know her. She wrote as evidence by both sociological and psychological studies, human hierarchies based on force or the threat of force not only inhibit personal creativity, but also result in social systems in which the lowest, basest human qualities are reinforced and humanity's higher inspirations traits such as compassion and empathy, as well as the striving for truth and justice, are systemically suppressed. I too was silenced once. It was almost a lifetime before I was able to speak my truth. Now, for almost another lifetime, I have spoken loudly, clearly, and passionately. She is the author of The Chalice and the Blade. And I was lucky enough to meet her and talk to her, and she was wonderful and to write a letter for me. So I think she's probably the one that I pull out as the most transformative.
I've shared her website in the chat window. She has spoken at the Academy. I had the pleasure of meeting her. And the
Wonderful.
book that we recommend in my classrooms is The Real Wealth of Nations.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
also her book.
Yeah. Terrific. You know, in preparing a little bit for this meeting with you all, I went on that UN site, and key findings today is that there is a backlash uh, happening in the world right now. Nearly a quarter of governments reported a backlash against women's rights. And we really are seeing that in the US today, especially. And there's slow progress. At the current rates, it would take 300 years to end child marriage, 286 years to remove discriminatory laws, and 140 years for women to achieve equal representation in leadership positions. And the only way we can really change what's happening is for women who are in these positions to speak up and open the door for other women, demand it really, open the door for other women to come in and sit at the table.
Marty?
Good morning from Canada.
Yay! I was born in Toronto.
Well, I live in Vancouver, so
I
you're on
know
the
it's
other side of the country, but I'm a big Blue Jay fan. This discussion, Carol
Mhm,
and Yodi, it reminds me of having dinners with my family
mhm,
because I have artists all through my family. And even though I am a retired psychologist and a humanist chaplain now, I have the mother of my children teaches at the local university here at UBC, and she teaches children's literature and to librarians and how to balance out the authorship of books by both men and women.
mhm,
And she has written a number of books. And the minute she stays in children's literature, she has no trouble getting published. But when she wants to write something more political or something a little more emphasis on the opinions of how women should be heard, she has a little harder time getting published, which is an interesting discrimination.
mhm,
But I will show our group, if you will just indulge me for a minute. I also have a daughter, and this is one of her pieces of artwork that won a prize up here when she was just in art school. And then she went down to join you, Carol, in San Francisco and went to the Art Institute.
Oh, good.
And she lives in the Bay Area still.
Mhm,
And so I have been blessed with two absolutely dynamic, creative women in my life that are both artists.
mhm,
And I've always been a more scientific mind, and they have always kept me balanced. And if it wasn't for their influence in my life, I'm sure I would have gone off in some analytical area my whole life as opposed to trying to update our beliefs as psychologists and in be more inclusive. In fact, I'm writing a book now called Inclusive Humanism, and it has a lot to do with how we need to update our politics and move away from ancient documents, which are very patriarchal.
Hmm. Yeah.
Thank
Thank,
you for indulging me and my family.
thank
I
you
have
for
a lot of,
sharing that beautiful art piece from your daughter and your story,
yeah,
and encouraging all of us to have dinner time conversations around our dinner tables.
yes.
Carol,
I,
go ahead, and then Ariane.
I have a lot of relatives in Vancouver as well, so I know the place well. Yeah.
So, I'm not sure if I remember the statistics correctly, but I was shocked when it was read off that 50% of women over the age of 15 can't read or write.
Right.
Uh, It, and that to me is really gets to the heart of why you're talking about 300 years, 150 years for women to come up because if you can't read and write, it's very limited what you can do, what kind of employment you can get, what kind of impact you can have on society. And I'm wondering whether anybody is really focused on that. And I'm sure, I'm not sure, but I would guess this is concentrated in certain parts of the world more than others. But if we could do something about the education and the reading and writing skills, I think it would have a big impact.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think Carol's assessment of how many hundreds of years it'll take to reverse some of the backlash we are facing made me think we're in multimedia age now and back to sitting around a fireplace and talking and chatting like we are now. So reading and writing is less important than storytelling. And my
Yeah.
grandmother
Yeah.
never finished elementary school, but she was one of the wisest women I knew. And it was through her stories that I learned so much from her. So I think it won't take a few centuries. I think we might make more progress if we make time to sit and listen to each other and share stories. But I'm a diehard optimist. So, Adriana, thanks, Ariane, for that comment.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about how you tell stories. Just thinking about that, not writing, but how can I reinforce these um, ways of letting my students, I work with students at a high school, my to tell the story in different shapes. So I was really amazed about your story in your shape because we can do it in painting, or just telling the story, or writing, or making a video. The important thing is to let them tell the story,
Hmm.
have a voice. So for me, this was really inspiring because I'm working with students at a business school, but I can see that sometimes the girls are like working in this with less of their potential because that's what society tells them to do. And I want them to see that they can't develop or their potential and have this voice. So thank you, Carol.
Thank you. There was I think she passed away not too long ago, but her name was Cokie Roberts. And she did a lot of research on women that were in Congress. And, why at the beginning, when women started getting into positions in the government, in Congress, that they seemed to go fall in line with the men. And she noticed as soon as there was a critical mass of women, like enough women that all of a sudden they started working on different things. They started not necessarily agreeing with all their male counterparts. And she gave a talk at the Commonwealth Club, which I attended because I used her statistics for my research. And this whole idea of women need, in order to have a voice, they need to have enough women around them to gain power and to stand up for things that they care about and push it. If there are not enough women in the room, and this is, boardrooms, this is in government, this is in nonprofits, this is everywhere. If there's not enough women, they're going to be silenced, and they do it to themselves. It's just this is sort of a new thing for a lot of women. They don't quite know how to act, and but we're working on it. And I'd like all of your thoughts about that as well.
I agree. Belinda?
Thank you so much. I just wanna, I'm very grateful to be here. I really didn't know this was about, a little bit about art, but the topic caught my attention about silence
Mhm.
in women, and I'm very grateful because I've written some of the ideas you're sharing. I'm grateful to know. Well, I obviously know that this is not happening just in Mexico, but I'm grateful to listen to other um, to things happening around the world and how we're creating a better place for well for children, for girls, for the
Mhm.
future too.
Yeah.
Um, I'm working in two or three projects about human trafficking, but mainly ch children trafficking against this. And just this has caught my attention, and I'm gonna take from some of your ideas to
Mhm.
use them for some of the activities we do with the girls. And well, right now we are developing something. I want to share this with you just in case someone wants to get on board. We are designing, along with several foundations, we are designing a plan towards the World Cup,
Mm.
because a lot of people that have, well, sadly, Mexico is number one in child trafficking right now, and obviously mostly girls. And we are designing a project to help people in hotels, airplanes, etc., better know and detect and find out if someone is taking a child, etc., plus other things. But this is gonna happen in Mexico, United States, and Canada, since we have the World Cup in the three countries. So,
Mhm.
anyways, it's a big deal. We are bringing ideas, and I'm sure this what you just shared about art, and well, everything you're sharing about silence, plus what we learn from our students. I'm also a teacher at business school. Well, all this adds up. I just wanted to share, and I'm very grateful to be here. I was not gonna connect because I'm not feeling very well, but this is helping me a lot. So thank you very much for the time and for listening.
Thank you.
The question asked earlier about what was the audience's reaction. This is the audience reaction. And thank you, Belinda, for your work. More power to you.
Yeah.
That is work that takes courage and bravery and community and support and resources from, whoever supports that, because as we know, there are powerful forces behind it. And sadly, technology is enabling some of that work too, just as I hope that it'll enable us to defend the spaces as well. So thank you for being here. It's the last couple of questions at best. I'm going to share a resource for Belinda of a gentleman from India who's worked to prevent child trafficking and to rescue children and care for them if
Thank
and
you.
I'm also sharing Carol's email so you can connect with her outside of this forum as well. So go ahead and ask your questions.
I have a comment.
Mhm.
My video's off because I'm nursing. I'm sick, so but I was moved to, say just how powerful, Carol, your work is. I'm an art historian, so I teach art history in, Asia and pre-Columbian. So some of your pieces are familiar to me, because it echoes, work that was done like 1,000 years ago. So they really have that timeless quality about them. They're very powerful. Um, I'm working on a paper right now about my undergraduate students. Um, over the past 30 years, I've saved their papers, about writing an art on an art object in the museum. But male or female, over all those years, they really have responded to this sculpture, life-size sculpture, of a female bodhisattva that's, very much treasured in East Asia. And that intrigues me, because, the feminine is very powerful, and most ancient societies were matriarchal,
Mhm.
and then that's been, well, suppressed, but you can't, the ancestors are deep in the blood, and so without knowing, consciously, people are responding. And another thing that I found out, like in the past couple of years, um, Catholics believe that the Blessed Mother was assumed into heaven. And
Mhm.
yet there's no teachings or, nothing in the Bible. There's nothing, that they can pin on, as evidence or teaching. So the Vatican 50 years ago, or in the 1950s, did a survey, and everything they came back was, well, no one taught me directly. It's just something I knew, and on that basis, that is now doctrine that the
Mhm.
Blessed Mother was assumed into heaven, which thrilled Carl Jung, that a female body was in heaven. And so that's intriguing because I think that wasn't only revealed to Catholic women, that has to be universal, that there's that response to the feminine. So I think you really brought that out in your work,
Okay.
and the audiences and everything, they've really been blessed to see it. So yeah, this is really, thank you, Judy, for, bringing this to us and everything.
Mm.
Thank you, Terry. Ken, did you want to read your comment or just have people read it in the chat?
Yeah, thank you. So what I want to add to my comment on this conversation is Japanese culture, business culture, mostly business culture. So so women in the business context, almost all corporation they ask the women who want to be promoted in a more higher position. The corporation asks them, so do you want to be a woman in the corporation, or can you change your sexuality into uh, a different sexuality? So, the corporation asks them, so if you want to be promoted into a more higher status, please lose your sexuality. So just work as the main guys in the Japanese corporation. So can you imagine? So the women, but the they have to behave like a Japanese business person, drinking Japanese sake a lot and in the evening, in the midnight, and so skip the house chore, and then so all the time to work with the uh, business guys in the corporation, in the family, in the society all the time. They should behave like the Japanese business uh, guys. So, and also, it's a shameful history of Japanese society. We have second wife, third wife history. So, this is a very, very deep and shallow side of Japanese society. So, one of the example, my brother-in-law was a children of the second wives of Japanese corporate the CEO of the second wife. And also, as you know, the founder of Panasonic Corporation has had that second wife. So a lot of Japanese CEO has a second wife or third wife. So society confirms that system as usual. But gradually, women standing up and no, we don't have any such a system. And gradually, but step by step, move to more equal society. But I think that it takes time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is very deeply entrenched in many places and will take time, yes. But this is a good start. This is small circles, whether it's Marty's family or other gatherings, allow these things to emerge into existence from the imagination, from the ideals. I'll share a couple of ones that I'm aware of in the chat window. Maria Faracas is a professor at Imperial College in London. And for about 8 years, every year at the Academy of Management, she runs Nevertheless, she persisted PDWs, and more than 100 women academics show up. They sit around round tables and share their personal journeys in academia so that together their voice is strengthened and they can learn from each other and have their radars up to stop things rather than be blindsided. So they're paving the path for each other. I've run women's circles at the Academy for 6 years and collaborated with Maria on the Nevertheless She Persisted as well. And Sandra, Nancy Adler, Judy Neal, Joan Marquez. And our call at the end of it is if 6 women are brave enough to tell their stories, everybody who's listening, go find your 6 women, sit down with them, listen to their stories, and share those stories, and then ask them to go ask 6 women. So the 6 degrees of separation will help us unsilence ourselves by
Yeah.
offering each other the listening spaces for things that we often think are just happening to me, but they're not just happening to me, they're happening to others. And that I found to be a very inspirational journey, especially navigating after the Me Too movement to have this community. So I keep my hope alive with these gatherings. Marty, I will take your comment, but because Gerard left and Sunitha left, I want to let everybody know that I'm really grateful that you showed up this morning. Toni Morrison's quote was what inspired me. She said, "When the times are dark, the artists go to work."
Yep.
So I wanted to bring an artist into our space and our artistry of organizing as a verb to be redefined with us sitting together to make that happen. So thank you for that. And the other thing I wanted to say is I know I was very moved because experienced this art in 3 dimension, but it is powerful and you've seen it on the screen. So take extra good care of yourself today and be kind to yourself because you might find that it'll stir up things that we don't have words for. And those emotions and your body's experiences, pay attention to be kind to yourself. I wish we could all huddle together for the day and
Yeah,
have a treat and I could take you out to lunch,
I
but I
would.
have to run for class. So I'm just going to say, please, thank you for this hard work and showing up to create the community. Carol's email is in the chat window. Reach out to her. She would love to see more exhibitions happen of her work. I would love to see that, and I'm working on making that happen at St. Mary's, or share the recording of this. Ariane, thank you so much for supporting us in creating the Eventbrite and creating the
Thank
recording and
you. And I will share
inviting
the
everybody.
recording in the chat with everyone.
Yes,
Thank you.
And
but on that formal closure, Carol, you want to say something, the
I just
final word.
wanted to say something. Without the support of Becky Morgan and the Morgan Family Foundation, who has been 1,000 times in support of what I'm doing, I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you. And that
Thank you
reminds
all.
me, I should thank the founder and the organization, the International Humanistic Management Association. So Michael Pearson's not here today, but he has brought so many of these good conversations and resources together. So I'm really grateful to the International Humanistic Management Association. Um, I will zip up to give Marty a chance. Thank you, Marty, for being patient. So much of what I've heard has resonated. I've had women bosses who were more macho than any men. I've had men who opened doors and made me, like Michael Pearson, pushed me into leadership roles when I didn't think I was ready for it. So it is the feminine qualities of compassion and care and community that Ryan Eisler talks about as the real wealth. And that's what I want to be reclaiming.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all.
We'll stay to hear Marty's comment. He had his hand raised.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if you should indulge me again, but I wanted to say that that was my point, that men who have experiences that are extremely healing and very enlightened by the women in their lives need to promote this. And I wanted to build on Ken's comment about Asian, the bias. And I was a consultant to a Japanese consulting firm here in Vancouver, and they asked me to come in and tell them how to help them with their Japanese companies so they could make more profit here. And I said, how many women do you have on your staff? And they said, well, we have about 4 secretaries, but we have no consultants. I said, as soon as you hire a consultant or two, I will come in and talk to you. So a couple of years later, they invited me back and they had added several women with MBAs to their staff. And so I spoke to them, and it actually changed their entire culture in that company.
Yep. Yep.
Wonderful, wonderful note to end on. The next series in this webinar series will be on 5th of December. The topic will be organizational aesthetics. The founding editor of the Organizational Aesthetics Journal, whose link is in the window, Steve Taylor, will be one of the speakers, and his co-author, Matthew. I'm blanking out on the last name, but they will talk about 20 years of doing this work. Steve Taylor brought theater to the Academy of Management more than 20 years ago, and he has enabled so many more to engage in aesthetic work through that journal. I did a special issue on poetry, and they have a special issue on dance. So great work. I hope to see many of you back on the 5th of December, an hour earlier than this hour.
Great.
Thank you. Good to
Bye.
see you,
Thank
Ramya.
you so much, Carol and
Thank you so
Jyoti. Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. I mistook the time and I joined too late, I think, Jyoti. But
That's
still,
okay.
cheers to you.